All right, we're live. Welcome to episode 54 of the Progo Baduk Weiqi Podcast. I'm Xiao Dai. We have Gaza in the room. Say hi, Gaza.
Ni hao.
Ni hao ma. Did you remind me of the former Australian Prime Minister,
Kevin Rudd.
Scotty Morrison? He
please.
was touring a suburb as part of his election campaign. That's I believe more than 51% Chinese. So he sees an Asian person and starts saying ni hao. And the person just says, "Oh yeah, I'm actually Korean."
Please don't compare me to Scott Morrison. It makes me feel like I've done something wrong.
Yeah, no worries.
But I'm just greeting our Chinese fans. I think last week I greeted our Korean fans.
Oh, did you?
Yes.
Oh,
You don't remember?
I thought that was your battle cry.
I said 안녕하세요.
Yeah. That's when you do the haka. Okay, Gaza. This week, not so massive week. We are gonna talk about the Judan, and then the some news about the Changqi Cup, the big domestic competition in China, the Changqi Cup, and the women's Meijin, and one Seongjin, the legend, and some Korean Baduk League news before we go to the calendar. Now, Gaza, let's start with the big news this week. I guess I'm not sure how big that is, but it's big-ish. The Judan has completed this week, Gaza. Can you believe it?
Yes, the Judan, for a refresher for everyone, the Judan is a Japanese Japanese domestic title. Like all the Japanese titles, like all the Japanese majors, it is a title holder challenger system.
Yep.
The title holder was Hsu Chiayuan, and the challenger was Shibano Toramaru.
And Gaza, did you say that like 2 years ago the roles were exactly reversed?
2 years ago, yes. 2 years ago, Shibano was the actual Judan, and he lost the title to Hsu Chiayuan. Last year, Hsu Chiayuan defended the title against Yu Zhengqi, and this year he battles. Shibano has returned
Yes.
to try to reclaim his Judan title. Now, the title match is a best of 5.
Yes.
So you have to win 3 games to win or retain the Judan.
Right.
And this was this week was game 4. It was actually played yesterday as of this recording.
Right.
Shibano Toramaru was up 2-1 after 3 games. So he just needed to win game 4 and he would reclaim the Judan.
And I mean it's no point guessing, but look how happy Shibano is.
Yes, well, for those who are watching on YouTube, we have a picture of Shibano, and he's clearly very happy.
Yes. And I mean some can interpret that facial expression as grinning, but there can be other interpretation. Would you say, Gaza?
Well, I mean that's the face that you would make when you're doing.
Number 2.
I would dare say face you make when you're passing bodily functions, but
Yeah.
perhaps that's a bit too rude.
Yeah.
My apologies. I do apologize. We are a mature podcast. Please
Yes.
don't leave.
Yeah.
But big congrats to Shibano. He did in fact win game 4.
Yes.
And it really was. If we go to the Kifu,
Yeah.
it really was a game that was decided on. I would say it was decided on one move, one decision by Hsu Chiayuan that ended up not being the correct one.
Yeah. Well, and
Now,
in this Kifu, Shibano is black, Hsu Chiayuan is
right.
white. So just let me
Yes,
know which
and-
move you want to go to.
Yes, notably, I'd like you to go to move 75. And
75.
notably, the first 3 games were all won by white.
Right.
So Shibano had been white twice, and this time he was black.
Yep.
Now this is the important point here. Now, I believe what white is meant to do is
instead of this peep.
No, that peep is fine actually.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
So, but white can follow that up by playing at e2.
Yep. Just honey.
Yes, that would be the plan. Or white can even play something. The AI says that white can even play something like f6.
F6.
Yeah.
All right.
No, that's e6. I don't think that e6 is that bad, but I think that f6. For some reason, the AI prefers f6.
Right.
That's fine, and the whole point. But like the idea is that it protects all of those white stones.
Right. Yeah.
Right, and the game's still even at this point.
Yeah.
But Hsu Chiayuan ended up playing something very, very different. He ended up peeping somewhere else.
Yes.
Yes. Now this move here. Now it turns out that this move is not sente.
Right.
Well. Yeah, this is a big problem.
Right.
Because, even black's got an even better move. Black can play at f6 now.
Okay.
And white loses some stones now.
Yes, because I guess if you connect and black has got this.
That's exactly what happened in the game.
Right. Yeah. Okay. See.
And it's not actually clear though. I would say, I mean, when you've got an AI, it makes everyone feel like they're a professional. But I think it's not immediately clear why P5 doesn't work.
Yeah.
Because I think the point of P5 is, the point of P5 is to try and to attack black group on the right.
Yeah. I think.
I
think white ended up spending at least 2 moves, and it's still ko. Looks like. So
yes, that's right. White had this. Yes,
white sent 1 move.
Only a ko.
And then white sends 2 moves. Okay, so actually that's compensated by black's 1 move. So white spent already another move, and then black tenuki as well. So white has ended up spending 1 more move, and even then it's still a ko. Looks like.
But the thing is, the interesting thing is that if you actually go to move 115, it's Now, if you look at white's next ko threat, white actually just threatens to save all the stones that were going to get cut.
Yeah, no, that's just your say, I guess.
Yeah, and black ends up ignoring that and taking the ko. So white actually does save his stones.
Yeah.
But at this point, white has already lost too much.
Yeah.
This trade is very beneficial for black.
I guess this one works kind of if this connection. I guess white thinks it's sente. It's a big yosei for white, but it's probably not as big as black. Considering white's already spent 2 moves, invested 2 moves.
Yeah.
So it's not that good. So after this, AI doesn't just think that Shibano's leading by a lot.
Yeah, AI says Shibano.
Okay.
At this point, I think black is ahead by maybe 10 points.
Right.
And that's including Komi.
Right. It's a lot. Oh well. So I guess that's how Shibano won this Judan.
Yeah, it was interesting. It was interesting at the top as well. Black barely lives in the top left, and I think that may have ended up being the difference because I think that was I think that was a yeah, that was a co-threat. C-17.
Yeah.
That was actually Black's last
Okay.
co-threat.
Yeah.
And in the end, Black managed to live in the top left, and that was probably the difference in the game. Yeah.
Oh wow. So that's when Hsu Chiayuan resigned.
Yeah.
And so yeah, congrats to Shibano for winning another title. I guess Shibano hasn't broken any records yet because it wasn't really that big in the news.
But well, interestingly now, Hsu Chiayuan actually has no major titles.
Yeah.
And not only that, but he hasn't actually, apart from since he won the Judan, he hasn't actually been in any major title matches.
Mm.
The only title, apart from the Judan, of course,
Yeah.
but he hasn't challenged for any of the other major titles in the last 2 years.
Right.
Which is a bit underwhelming for someone of his level. He's definitely strong enough, like he's definitely good enough to challenge for the other titles. And I think he's won the Gosei in the past.
Yeah.
The Judan wasn't his only title, I believe.
Yeah. No, I think he won something else before, but I
Yeah,
think he lost it the very next year to yeah. Hane Naoki. Yeah. Naoki.
right, yeah,
But Hsu Chiayuan is part of the Three Crows along with
yes.
Shibano and Ichiriki. Gaza, actually, would you say Shu is actually the weakest of the Three Crows?
No, I wouldn't say that. He's definitely the biggest the least successful of the Three Crows.
Yeah. Given that he hasn't won any of the big three.
He hasn't won the Kisei, the Meijin, or the Honinbo.
Right.
That's right.
Yeah.
But I do say he hasn't won, like, since he won the Judan 2 years ago, he hasn't challenged in any of the other major titles, but he has won the Kiriyama Cup.
Right.
And he has won the Teikei Cup.
Yep.
But yeah, other than that, he hasn't actually. But yeah, in terms of the major titles, he's still falling short.
Yeah.
Somewhere along the way. I wouldn't say he's the weakest of the three. I think they're all equally strong, but for some reason, and Hsu Chiayuan's actually my favorite of those three.
Right.
But yeah, for some reason, I think he's the most inconsistent of the three. I would say that much.
Yep.
Yeah.
And of course, she will be in the Asian Games at the end of the year, but playing for Taiwan. So
That's right.
yeah, that's something to look forward to. Now, there was, as part of the news reporting about Shibano winning the Judan, it was actually mentioned that one of his favorite dishes is prawn stir-fried fried rice. So that's something for the fans to remember. If you see him, buy him a prawn fried rice. That's what I would say. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, Gaza, let's move on to the LG Cup. There's some news there. Now, Gaza, I normally don't whine a lot, but it's the Chinese websites, they're reporting on the LG Cup is just complete garbage. Like, after reading the entire article, I still don't know who's actually qualified for the LG Cup. That's how bad it is. How bad it written it is. Like, just basically no one there wants to write any Weiqi articles anymore. So,
And that's where we're trying to pick up the slack and fill in for the uninformed.
Uninformed, yes.
Yes.
All our Chinese listeners, they love it.
Yeah, maybe you should do this next piece in Chinese.
Yeah. Okay. Sure. I want to be like that. What's that U.S. university president who said that who mocked the Asian languages during one of the graduation ceremonies or something. Maybe I should do one of that. I think he went something like this.
Okay, for those who are unaware, Xiao Dai is actually a fluent Chinese speaker.
Yeah.
He's just pretending.
So I can get away with it. I'm the only person who can get away with it on this podcast. But Gaza, there's some big news coming out of China. In that we know, well, almost everyone who's qualified for the LG Cup from China. So of course China gets their seeds, and of course the also last year's LG Cup, the final was between Yang Dingxin and Ding Hao. So both of them are already in the LG Cup in terms of Chinese players.
Right, Yang Dingjun and Ding Hao are both in.
Yes,
okay.
Because they are a finalist. Li Xuanhao and Mi Yuting, because they're domestic. I believe it's because of their domestic competition results. They get seeded. They get selected by the Chinese Weiqi Association as the seeds. Notable absentee from that list, Gaza?
Ke.
Yeah, Ke. And where is Ke? Ke hasn't actually made it yet. Ke is down in this group. So they get, I believe, only the top few players get seeded into, gets randomly drawn into a few groups. And you basically have to win 2 games to qualify. Now, Ke happens to be drawn in the same group as Deng Yifei. And of course, if you recall, Deng Yifei was challenging for one of the major titles. I believe he challenged for, is it Tianyuan? Tianyuan versus Mi Yuting. So that's why, and Tianyuan obviously happens to clash with the LG Cup qualification. So, yeah, so Ke couldn't really play the Deng Yifei, so that's kind of delayed, and that's why on this table, in terms of the progression chart, Ke hasn't, or the Ke's group, this particular path to the final spot is empty. But for Ke to make the LG Cup, he has to beat Deng Yifei and then beat Tang Xiao. So that's Ke's path. Now we'll talk a little bit about Ke versus Deng Yifei a little bit later, but the other big news for me, Gaza, is that Wang Xinghao's actually made.
Yes.
This is actually finally he's actually qualified for international major. It's the first time he's done it.
News.
This is great news.
For those unaware, Wang Xinghao hasn't actually played in a world major yet.
Yes.
So I think this will be. Well, this is the first. Is this the first one he's qualified for, or did he qualify for the Chujolanka? I don't think he did.
No, I don't think he did. He didn't make that one. Yeah, this is his first ever. Now, of course, Wang Xinghao is widely considered to be, the next gen of Chinese players. Like he's in. So basically, after Ke, the next gen people were thinking about maybe Ding Hao is going to be the leader of the next gen. And after Ding Hao's generation is Wang Xinghao. So it's like they're like one gen every 3 years. That's kind of how rapid it is. Of course, Wang Xinghao is a lot younger than Xin Jinso, maybe 3-4 years younger. So someone to definitely look forward to. And Wang Xinghao had to overcome Li Qingcheng and Xu Yue to make the LG Cup. So
yeah, not just that, but he had to play in the earlier prelim as well, right?
Right. Possibly, I can't see the info here, but he might
scroll down.
Yeah. Oh yes, he did. No, he didn't. Did he? Oh yes. He had to play in the first stage, and where he beat Tong Mong Cheng, and then Chen Shen to even make the second stage. So yeah, so that's well done. The other people to have made it were Gu Zihao and Li Weiqing. So a lot of big names missed out. For example, Xie Hao missed out, former LG Cup winner. You got Zhang Weijie and Fan Tingyu missing out, both big names. So looking forward to it. Now, Gaza, there's also some, I guess, news of sorts from Japan about the LG Cup as well.
Yes. So Japan get 3 spots in the LG Cup, 2 seeds and one qualifier.
Yeah.
Now, the two seeds are, in fact, the two final people that we just talked about in the Judan, Shibano Toramaru and Hsu Chiayuan.
Yeah.
Now, you may be thinking, what about
Yamayuta.
Ichiriki Ryo or Yamayuta, of course.
Yeah, yes.
I mean, they're like when you talk about the four best players in Japan, you talk about those four.
Yeah.
Now, once again, we have mentioned this before, but the international tournaments sometimes clash with the Japanese domestics and the Japanese domestic title matches. And when that happens, the players participating in those domestic matches are unable to compete in the international tournaments. Wow. And in this case, the LG Cup clashes with Game 2 of the Honinbo title match.
Yep.
And the Honinbo will be decided between Yamayuta and Ichiriki Ryo. And so that's why. And so, that means that neither of them will actually be playing in the LG Cup.
Unfortunately.
Yes.
But there's also a qualifier that's concluded recently.
Yes, so like I said, there's one qualifying spot, and it's usually between, I'm not sure how it's done, but it's usually just between a certain select group of players, I think in the national team.
Right.
I think it's typically just 4 players that battle for that qualifying spot.
Right.
And so this year the 4 players were Seki Kataro, Yuzeng Chi, Ida Atsushi, and Otake Yu, I think.
Yeah, that's right.
And Yuzeng Chi, I believe, is the one who ended up winning that qualifying battle.
Yes.
And he'll be participating in the LG Cup as well.
Yeah. And now, I don't know if this is accurate or not, but on the website that I see in terms of the days on which the qualifiers were played, there was 2 rounds. Looks like both rounds were played on the same day, so it was pretty compressed for Japanese standards.
Oh, on the same day.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not sure. Yeah, that sounds a bit.
Yeah.
It sounds a bit condensed. Yeah, I'm not sure if they probably were played on the same day, but it's also possible that it just so happens that they never actually reported when they were played, right. And so that's just the day. That's just the day that the results were announced.
Right. It could be. In the other news, Taiwan, Lai Junfu will be the rep. Lai Junfu actually beat Xu Haohong to the LG Cup. So
yeah, Taiwan get 1 spot. Is that right?
That's what it looks like. There's no seeds. Yeah, just 1 spot assigned to them.
Yeah, 1 spot.
Yeah. So that's the LG Cup. Looking forward to it. Now, Kaza, after talking about this LG Cup, we can talk about the domestic major in China, which is the Changqi Cup.
Yep.
Now, this Changqi Cup, just a bit of background. Changqi Cup uses the in-cup rules. So I believe it's sponsored by the same foundations that sponsors the in-cup.
Actually, sorry.
Yeah.
Can I just interrupt here?
Yeah.
I want to quickly mention. Sorry, I do want to quickly mention an update on the Korean qualifying.
All right. Yes.
For the LG Cup.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Now, the Korean qualifying is there's still quite a lot to go, and the KPA website is very seems to be very scarce in terms of information. So I'm not entirely sure at the moment who the seeds are for Korea.
Right.
All I know is that Shinjin So is one of the seeds, of course. Probably Park Jun-hwan and Byun Sang-yeol as well.
Yeah.
But what I do know is that Shin Min-jun had to play in the qualifiers. He won the LG Cup just 2.5 years ago,
Yeah.
and now he's already back having to qualify again. He actually lost in the qualifiers. So he's out of the LG Cup unless he gets a wild card.
Right.
Now, also, something else that I found interesting is that Choi Jong doesn't seem to have even entered the qualifiers
Wow.
for the LG Cup.
Wow.
Hey?
Yeah, no, keep going. Sorry.
Yeah, now I'm not sure if she's got a seed. I'd be very surprised if she's gotten a seed, but it's possible that she has because of her performance in the Samsung Cup.
Right.
But yeah, it's possible that she's got a seed, but if she hasn't, then she didn't even try to qualify, and that's not completely unknown stuff because I don't think she tried to qualify for the Chunlan Cup either. So
Right.
yeah, I found that interesting. But anyway, I think there's still at least 2 rounds to go in the Korean qualifiers, so we'll have more of an update next week.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Now back to the Changqi Cup. So as I mentioned, Changqi Cup is a domestic major in China. Uses the same rules as In Cup, which means
Right.
you get a certain amount of time. After, if you use it up, then you get extra time for some penalty points. I think that you can only use it up to twice or something, and the times for which you can kind of almost like buy with points, that's getting shorter and shorter. But this is what happens in the draw. This is, by the way, Xu Hong. It might have been just that the spotlight was very, very was on him, and he looks like he got caught, and it was like a stunned deer caught in the spotlight.
That's actually just his normal. That's just his resting face.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh wow. That's the only thing I found that was very interesting about the draw. Now, Gaza, but when the competition started proper, big names started dropping, left, center, and right. It's a really crazy, giant killing competition. So let's just go through some of the exciting news from that. In round one, before the round one starts, basically Yu Jing, she was interviewed. She got drawn with Li Qingcheng. She was like, oh, maybe Li Qingcheng should give me a chance, so I can, progress. And Li did, because Yu Jing beat Li Qingcheng in the first round. That was
Nice.
very big, very big. Because Li Qingcheng's like consistently ranked in the top 10, if not near the top, sometimes near the top 10 or sometimes straight in the top 10 in China, but got cut down by Yu Jing. And of course, Wang Xinghao beat Fan Tingyu also in the first round. That was huge. So that's not the only thing that was quite big that happened in the first round. Now, I got here this knockout chart. Now, unfortunately, it's in Chinese only, but I'll just quickly mention some of the big results from the competition in the first round, couple of rounds. So of course we mentioned that Yu Jing beat Li Qingcheng, and then we got Xie Hao beating Xie Ke. So Xie Ke can't even make it past round one of some domestic. So and then he's about to play Shin Jin So in the In Cup final. So I guess we all know what's gonna happen. And then we got Li Xuanhao beating Hu Yuhan. Hu Yuhan, I believe, is a very young player. But that's not the big news, because after Li Xuanhao progressed past the first round, in the very next round he faced the veteran Jiang Weijie, and he got beat there. So Li Xuanhao hasn't been doing so great since taking the number one spot from Ke Jie in the Chinese rankings. So yeah, he's now back to number 2, and Ke Jie is back to number 1, and the point differential has widened quite a bit. It's now about 20-30 points. So yeah, a big reversal of fortune there. So Ke Jie has only lost his number 1 spot twice in the last, I believe, it's 8 years or so.
Right,
Both
who did he lose to first time?
Mi Yuting.
Oh, okay.
But that was only for 1 month, and it looks like this time he's only lost it to Li Chuanhao for 1 month as well. But we'll see what's happened. But that's not the biggest one. The other big name to have not progressed further was Ding Hao versus Chen Yaoye. So Chen Yaoye got past Xu Yue in the first round, and then he went on to beat Ding Hao in the second round. So some big names have already exited the competition after 2 rounds. So some crazy stuff. Now, both Wang Xinghao and Li Weiqing made it to the second round.
Nice.
And for those who follow the Jia League or remember, like both Wang Xinghao and Li Weiqing are in the Team Shanghai. In fact, they are the only 2 players who consistently win in the Team Shanghai. The other Team Shanghai players were, shall we say, very, very average. And they played each other in the second round of Changqi Cup. And what's happened there was that's them over there. That's Wang Xinghao and Li Weiqing. And what happened there was Gaza. Wang Xinghao also beat Li Weiqing. So Wang Xinghao is doing really, really well recently. Not only that, after he's beat Li Weiqing, he also beat Hang Yizhou to make the semi-final. And guess who his opponent in the semi-final is, Gaza? Drum roll.
Kerje.
Kerje, yes, that's right, Kerje. Believe it or not. And what's good about this semi-final is that the semi-final will be a best of 3.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so... And also the final is also a best of 3. So this is gonna be a huge test for Wang Xinghao facing Kerje in a best of 3. Now, so how did Kerje make it to the semi-finals? Now, we mentioned this before. Kerje was about to play Deng Yifei in the LG Cup qualifier, but in the Changqi Cup, Kerje actually beat Deng Yifei in the quarterfinals to make the semi-finals. So they've already kind of played. So yeah, let's see if Kerje can repeat, this in the LG Cup. And now Kerje also beat Zhao Chenyu. So to make it to the semi-final, Kerje had to win 2 games against 2 very strong players. So yeah, that's really good for Kerje.
Kerje sounds like he's really on a roll at the moment.
Yeah. Now supposedly he's won 10 games in a row now.
10?
10 games.
Amazing.
Yeah. And after Kerje's lost to AlphaGo all those years ago, Kerje's had a run of 22 straight wins. So this is only 10 wins in. Yes. So yeah. So I guess hopefully more things to come for Kerje. Maybe it's a Kerje resurgence. Maybe Kerje's promise to win a 9th international title might actually happen if his form continues. Yeah, so let's see. Now, the other semi-finalists in the Changqi Cup were Mi Yuting and Zhang Weijie. So Zhang Weijie, the veteran, is still going strong. I think he's maybe 32, 33 now, but still going very strong. So, yeah, more things to look forward to. Yeah, Gaza. So that's the Changqi Cup domestic in China. Yeah. So I don't have anything more to update on the Chinese domestic scene, but Gaza, maybe we'll move back to Japan and talk about another big title, which is the women's Meijin.
Yes. Now, there's something I want to quickly address here.
Yeah.
People have asked, why are the photos that you post on the articles sometimes not photos related to the event you're posting about?
Right.
Because if you see here, a lot of these photos aren't actually the 2 players. Well, the women's Meijin.
Yeah.
I apologize. We should actually mention what the women's Meijin is. So it is a women's domestic major in Japan.
Yep.
It uses a title holder challenger format, and it's the only women's major in Japan that has a league to determine the challenger.
Yep.
Now, in this case, Fujisawa Rina was the defending women's Meijin, and the winner of the league was Ueno Asami. She won it. She went a perfect. I think it was 6-0 or 7-0 in the league.
Right. Yeah.
To challenge for the women's Meijin. Now, and this was she ended up winning the first game. We discussed that last week, I believe, or maybe the week before, and then she won. Yeah, so we discussed the first game last week. Yes, and then this week she ended up winning game 2, and it was the title match is a best of 3.
Yeah.
So she won 2-0. So Ueno Asami is now the women's Meijin, and I believe this is the first time she's held the women's Meijin. Yeah, and she also currently holds the Hsu Central Hospital Cup as well. So she holds 2 women's major titles. Yes, this is the first time that she's won the women's Meijin. She previously challenged for it 2 years ago, but lost to Fujisawa Rina.
Yep.
Yeah, so she currently holds the women's Meijin, the Hsu Central Hospital Cup, and she also holds the Young Cup.
Yep.
Okay. And so she currently holds 3 titles. So she's doing really well at the moment. But yeah, so back to what I was rambling on about before. People are asking why sometimes the photos that you post are not directly related to the event. Because you see here the first photo is actually Ueno Asami playing Ji Yimin.
Yeah.
Now I believe this is one of the as I said, there was a league format to determine the challenger. I believe this was one of the league games.
Right.
But I'm guessing, to answer your question, I think Zhao Dai can answer it better, but to answer the question, I believe that these photos are scraped from articles about...
Yeah.
Like from articles that you find online, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess that if the article posts that picture, they will likely just end up in here. Now theoretically, there should be a process to filter out some articles, some pictures, but that part of the program hasn't been developed yet. So I guess.
Yeah. So basically, Zhao Dai has made a program that will try to automate posting of this news and articles so that it's less manual work for us.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's some minor issues where some slightly unrelated photos will appear in the images, but we'll work through that. It's still better than having to do everything manually.
Yeah.
But in any case, yes. I had a very brief look at the game, and it was a close game throughout. There was never any big groups dying or anything like that. But yeah, it was a good win by Ueno Asami.
Okay. So now what I've heard was that Ueno Asami, she's never won anything from Fujisawa Rina with a clean sheet, meaning that she's not lost a game. So this is the first time she's kind of done a 2-0 over Fujisawa Rina.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And the other thing that was kind of surprised me was that Ueno Asami actually beat Fujisawa Rina to Grand Slam, meaning that Ueno Asami has now won every major Japanese title, and she's actually the second player to do so. And the first player to have done that was
I believe it would be Ji Min.
the lady on the left here. So potentially that's why this picture was featured near the top of the article rather than everything that came after.
Do you know? I know the answer to this, but do you
Yeah.
know which title
Yeah.
Fujisawa Rina is missing?
Aizu Hospital Cup.
No,
Ah.
that was the one that Ueno Asami just took from her. It's the women's Kisei.
Oh wow. Okay. So.
In fact, I'm just checking here, and in 2019, Ueno Asami beat Fujisawa Rina 2-0 to win the women's Kisei. So
is that right? Okay.
apparently, yeah, there was a clean sheet in the past.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well. But it's still true that Fujisawa Rina is yet to complete the Grand Slam, but Ueno Asami has beaten her to it.
Yes, that's right. Yes,
Yeah.
Fujisawa Rina is still missing the women's Kisei.
Which, guys, this actually surprises me because I would have thought that Fujisawa Rina would be considered the stronger, not necessarily the stronger, but definitely she's considered more like the number one in Japan, whereas Ueno Asami is maybe a very close second. But it looks like Ueno Asami has somehow overtaken Fujisawa Rina.
Yeah, I guess you could say that. Fujisawa Rina, I believe, now only holds one title.
Right.
That being the women's Honinbo. But
Right.
yeah, no, Fujisawa Rina has sort of she is a senior to Ueno Asami.
Yep.
And not only that, but she's been a pro for a lot longer. She was, a famous prodigy.
Right, yes.
So she's been around a lot longer as well. And of course she has the family history as well. So she's been a name in the professional scene for a very, very long time. And one other thing is before Asami won the Young Cup, Fujisawa Rina herself won it. So yeah, it's I think since Ji Min relinquished the title, Fujisawa Rina has basically been Japan's number one women's player.
Yeah.
But in the past 12 months, in the past 15, I guess, months, Asami has made huge strides in success. And I think we can now say that Asami may actually be the number one women's player in Japan.
Yes. She's done a lot more first than Fujisawa Rina, including winning Japan's first international title for women in the Changqi Cup.
I don't think it really matters like what first you have, but really what like your current level and what you currently have now. And at the moment, Fujisawa Rina has one title, the women's Honinbo, while Asami has the women's Meijin, the Hsu Central Hospital Cup, and the Young Cup. So I think the current results speak for themselves.
Yes, so I would agree. Yeah, Ueno Asami maybe actually is the Japan number one now in terms of women players. So again, congrats to Ueno Asami for taking out the women's Meijin. Nagaza, after congratulating Ueno Asami, I'd like to ask you a very serious question.
Okay, I'm skeptical about this being a serious question, but go ahead.
Okay. What do you call it if Seongjin won a Korean domestic competition?
Xiaodai, I'm unsure. What would you say if Seongjin were to be successful in a Korean domestic competition?
It's called 1-1-1. Get it? His surname is Won, and he won. So he won. Won is also the Korean currency unit. So 1-1-1.
Oh, that's a good one, Xiaodai.
Yeah, thanks. And Gaza, why am I telling that joke?
Because Seongjin has achieved an incredible career milestone. He's won 1,000 official professional games.
Yes. And that still doesn't explain why I told that joke, but it is because Seongjin has achieved this quite amazing feat, 1,000 wins, believe it or not. He's the 17th player to do so.
17th Korean player, yes.
Right. And this 47th, are you sure you got the count right? Because I think we had a few issues with this 47th.
We've had
count.
issues in the past. The 47th is, from what I know, 47th of the players that I know. There may be some players with incomplete records.
Right. Okay, so
but I believe, yes.
Yeah.
I double checked this time.
And
But I want to give a bit of background on Seongjin, as I do for most of these players.
Yeah.
So he was born in 1985.
Yeah.
So there are three really strong Korean pros that were born in 1985. The other two being Choi Chol-han and Park Young-hoon.
Yeah.
Now, Choi Chol-han and Park Young-hoon are probably more famous than Seongjin, and they both reached 1,000 wins earlier than Seongjin.
Right.
But Seongjin is the only one of the three that's still in the top 10 in the Korean rankings.
Yes.
But he probably hasn't had as high a peak as those two players, but his longevity is quite remarkable. He's still doing well in tournaments, and I think he has 5 career titles. His first one, I believe, was in 2006. He won some sort of competition that doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
The translation that I see is Masters Survival competition, but I've never heard of it.
Yeah.
Then in 2006 as well, in 2007, he won the Rookie King.
Yep.
And he also won the Chunwon, which is a competition that no longer exists, but it is the Korean version of the Tengen. And at the time, they also had a playoff with the Chinese Tianwan champion. So the Tianwan champion from China would play the Chunwon champion from Korea in a bilateral competition. So as the winner of the Chunwon, he played Gu Li, the winner of the Chinese Tianwan, in a best of 3 match, and he actually won that 2-0.
Yep.
And then not only that, he ended up in 2010, he won the GS Caltex Cup.
Yep.
And finally, in 2011, he won a world championship, the Samsung Cup.
Yes.
So...
And he's since made another final of the Samsung Cup?
The LG Cup. In 2013, he made the final of the LG Cup.
Yep.
I'm not sure who he didn't win, but I don't recall who he lost to.
Yeah. I can't. It might have been one of the Tang Weixin or Xu Yue, one of those, maybe.
It was Xu Wei. Yeah, it was Xu Wei.
Yep.
And he's been runner up in other things, like runner up in the Maxim Cup.
Yeah.
But he's been a member of many successful Nongshim Cup teams. I think he was in the team that won last year, not this year, but last year.
Yeah.
And he may have also been as old as 2006, or maybe even 2003. I think actually, he was also in the Nongshim Cup, and he's probably been in some in between. So that's it's a really long time span.
Yeah.
And still going strong. He's still He's currently 8th in the Korean rankings. Yeah.
Now, Gaza, just to add a bit more info. Now, you mentioned he was born in 1985, along with 2 other players. Choi Cho-han and Park Jin-young.
Park Young-hoon.
Young-hoon.
Yeah.
Now, 1985, the majority of that calendar year anyway, happens to coincide with the Chinese zodiac of the ox. So they were technically, I think all three were born in the year of the ox. And I do believe in Korean media and Chinese media, these three players are referred to as the three mavericks because of the association with the zodiac, the ox. So, of course, when I was, growing up, learning about the professional Go scene, when I read about the three mavericks, I always think of Seongjin as, to by far the weaker of the three, because I think when Park Young-hyun and Choi Jo-han was doing really well in international competitions, Won hasn't really done very much. Of course, until he won the Samsung Cup. So, and now that you mentioned that he's achieved 1,000 games later than the other two, it kind of all makes sense. But obviously, he's still a very, very, very strong player, and the fact that his longevity has surpassed the other two. So, in a way, he's even though he may have been in his prime days considered the weaker of the three mavericks, he is quite a maverick himself.
Yes, yeah, he's definitely as Eugene says in the chat, Wang Seongjin's a bit of a late bloomer.
Right. Yes.
He definitely has had a different career than your typical, top player. In that, at 30, well, he's 37 currently.
Yeah.
And he's still going really well. And it's not that he didn't even he wasn't old when he turned pro. He turned pro at, I believe he was 12.
Right.
When he turned pro, so which is very, very young. So you would think that most players would have burn out by now.
Yes.
Right, but he's still not only doing well, but strong enough to he's actually captain of his Korean League team.
Right.
So that's how strong he is. And even as recently as 2 years ago, he was selected on several occasions as a wild card.
Right.
I think for the LG Cup, Samsung Cup, and the Nongshim Cup.
Yes. Yes. I believe it was maybe 2-3 years ago. He was he has an unbeaten record in the Korean League.
Yes,
season.
That's right. Just 2 years ago, he had an unbeaten record in the Korean League to help Team Celtrion win the championship.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah, crazy. And
Gaza,
he
Gaza, I was going to say that I've mentioned on this podcast before, but there was an interview with Won Seongjin, and in that interview he said he hopes to play, Baduk until 50 and beyond. So I think he still trains regularly every day, unlike some people like Kerje. But yeah. And you were saying, Gaza?
Interestingly enough, but he's got Baduk in his family. He's actually married to one of the Baduk TV casters.
Yes.
I don't recall her name, but she's one of the regulars that casts on Baduk TV. So he clearly is still in love with the game.
Yes.
And not only that, but he's proving that age really is not as big a correlation to strength as people may think.
Yeah.
So big congrats to him for getting 1,000 wins.
Yeah.
Eugene put in the chat, Lee So Young. She's the caster, Baduk TV caster, who is Won Seongjin is married to. Yes.
Yes. Okay. Yep.
Right. But once again, big congrats to him. It's a really, really huge accomplishment.
Yes. Congrats to Won Seongjin. Now, Gaza, staying in Korea, shall we move on to the Korean League? Which is like my favorite part of the podcast, because you would tell me what's happened.
Yes, so the Korean League, it's getting to the pointy end. Most of these matches that are happening are round 14.
Right. Yep.
Yeah, we seem to be in round 14 of the Korean League. There are 16 rounds.
Yes.
So we're getting to the point where we're figuring out which teams are going to make the playoffs and which teams are not.
Yep.
Now, to give a bit of info, the Korean League is made up of two groups of 6 teams.
Yes.
And the top 3 teams in each group
Yep.
will make the playoffs. Now, each match it consists of 4 games.
Right.
And if a team wins 3-0 or 3-1, or 4-0, they get 3 match points and the other team gets 0 match points.
Right. Yep.
But if it's tied 2 games apiece, then they'll play a 5th game called the ace match. And the winner of that gets 2 match points while the loser gets 1 match point.
Right.
So, and essentially, the standings in the league, in the groups, are determined by match points.
Yep.
Now, this week, I should mention that there is a current game happening in the Korean League.
Yep.
So I'll link that in the chat. There we go. So you can pin that if you want. Now, the interesting game happened yesterday, as of this recording, and it was Team Japan versus Team Wonick.
Yes.
Now,
Gaza, let me guess. Japan lost.
Yes, you're right. Japan lost.
How did I guess?
Now, to preface this, Japan, this was, let's see, this was actually game 15 for Wonick, game 14 for Japan. Now, Japan have actually lost all 13 of their previous matches.
Right.
And so they're looking to just win a single match. They're already guaranteed to come last in their group, so they're not going to make the playoffs.
Yep.
Whereas Team Wonick, they've actually lost their last 7 matches.
Oh, wow.
In fact, the last time they actually won a match was against Team Japan, the previous time they played Team Japan.
Wow, okay.
Now, that also means, as you can expect, that Team Wonick desperately need a win to keep their playoff hopes alive.
Yes.
Whereas Japan are just trying to, get some pride.
So Gaza, they have lost 7 of their last 7, and their playoff hopes are still alive.
Yes, because they started off very strongly.
Right.
They started off very strongly, and some of the losses that they had went to ace matches. Right. So despite the fact that they were losing matches, they still got a match point.
Yeah, they got 1 point out of it. Yep.
On those occasions.
Sure.
So in this case, Japan actually put out a very strong, one of their stronger teams. All of the players on the team have wins in the league.
Yep.
So they put out Yuki Sakai. I'll just make sure that I get the names around the right way. So they got Sakai Yuki, Hirose Yuichi, Seki Kitaro, and Fukuoka Kitaro.
Yep.
Now, the first game was Sakai Yuki versus Song Ji-hoon.
Yep.
And Song Ji-hoon won that one.
Okay.
And then it was Hirose Yuichi against Lee Ji-hyun, and Lee Ji-hyun won that one. So Japan were down 2-0.
Yes.
So they had to win games 3 and 4.
Yeah.
And game 3 was their ace, Seki Kitaro, against Wonick's Lee Chang-suk. And unfortunately, Seki Kitaro lost that. So Japan were already behind 3-0.
Right.
And then, so the final game, once again, it didn't count, but it was Fukuoka Kitaro, and he played. Wonick brought back their secret weapon, Kim Chae-young,
And why do you say secret weapon, Gaza?
because she's actually not a member of the first team,
Yeah.
the Team Wonick. She's a member of the Futures League, the Futures team, the reserves team.
Yeah.
But you're allowed to bring in reserves. You're allowed to bring in players from the reserves team if you want. So they did. They brought Kim Chae-young. Now they brought in Kim Chae-young in the previous match against Kicks, and she actually beat Park Jin-sol.
Right.
So they brought it back again. This time though, Fukuoka Kitaro prevailed. And so Fukuoka Kitaro, he actually has a winning record at the moment.
Right.
5 wins, 4 losses, which is pretty crazy considering no one else on Team Japan has more than 2 wins.
Yep.
And Fukuoka Kitaro is actually the 8th seed.
Right.
In Team Japan. He's actually the lowest seed.
Yes.
But it turns out he's arguably the best player on Team Japan.
Yeah.
Despite being the 8th seed.
Yeah.
Seki Kitaro, by the way, his record is 2 wins, 9 losses.
Right.
So yeah, it's been a pretty disappointing experience for him. But for Fukuoka Kitaro, very promising. Yeah. And I have to say I don't want to brag, but I've been a fan of this guy since our first podcast. If you do remember that, right?
Yes. Now, Gaza, I do want to say when for Coco, I think I've started noticing him when he I believe defeated Tu Xiaoyu twice in a row in the same competition. It might have been the Weiqi Cup.
The Globus Cup.
Tu Xiaoyu.
The Globus Cup. He made the final of the Globus Cup against Wang Jinghao.
Yeah, but I think he beat Tu Xiaoyu twice in a row in a competition. Might have been the Weiqi Cup. And people back then thought maybe it was a fluke. But one comment by a Chinese netizen was very interesting. Basically, the comment said, "We have to watch out for this Fukuoka guy," and that was a very interesting comment because even in China they recognized his talent, and that he's basically a target to be aware of, and he's proven himself to be deserving of that with his performance in the Korean League, basically by far the best of the Japanese players. I mean, he shows that the Japanese players can be competitive. It's just that for whatever reason, this crop just wasn't.
I don't think that they selected the best players.
No, they haven't. I think we all know that, but they do have. Despite that, they also have actually 2 title holders in that team. And they're still really doing so poorly. So
yeah, for the record, I would have picked both Seki Kitaro and Hirata Tomoya in the squad.
Right.
I don't think they made a mistake in picking those players. They just haven't performed.
Yeah.
But other players like Chang Ruijie, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know about him. Yeah.
I mean, and like I've mentioned this before, but they have 3 players. That still haven't won a game.
Yeah.
Which is pretty tough. But yeah, like I said, so that's now 14 losses for Japan. And they've got 2 matches left. And you have to say that the next one is perhaps their best chance of a win. It's against Taiwan.
Yeah.
Okay. That's in 8 days' time. So next Sunday. So yeah. The Japanese fans, if you want them to win, you probably better be praying on Sunday.
Yeah.
But yeah. So that's it in the Korean League. Like it's still so close. Literally, only Team Taiwan and Team Japan are actually out of the running for the playoffs. All of the other teams still have a chance.
Right.
Yeah, it's actually quite close.
Yep. So
yeah, I'm not gonna try and and guess. Like for instance, in that group, in Group B, second place has 25 match points and fifth place has 23.
Right.
Right. So
Yeah.
yeah, so really tight, really tight. Obviously, some very good drafting because it seems to have been a very even competition,
Yeah.
which is always good to see. Which is always good to see, in my opinion.
100%.
Um,
Yes.
But yeah, that's it for the Korean League. I think yeah, we'll definitely give another update next week.
Yeah. And
And I think by then we'll definitely have a clearer idea of who's going to make the playoffs.
sure. And I have mixed feelings about this. I guess Team Taiwan to win, but I also want Japan to win. So I really don't know how to feel about the next one.
Yeah, we've got Elom in the chat saying that Ueno Asami would be a good pick for the for Team Japan.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
I would probably have put Ueno Asami in there. That would have been a good one.
At least it would be fairly entertaining other games. So well, thanks Gaza for the Korean League update. As I mentioned, my favorite part of the podcast. And now Gaza, we're gonna move to the calendar. Gaza, is there anything interesting you want to point out in the calendar for next week coming?
Yes, there are two very interesting things
Yes.
that I want to point out. More curiosities, but you know how I am with these sorts of curiosities and
Yes.
random tidbits.
Yes.
Now, firstly, on I think it is on the Wednesday, we've got Park Chun-hwan versus Shin Min-jun.
Oh yes, Weiqi Construction Cup.
Yes, and then on Thursday, we've got Park Jun-hwan versus Shin Min-jun.
Korea's strongest league.
Yes.
Very nice.
So Park Jun-hwan and Shin Min-jun, they're playing each other 2 days in a row, but in two very different tournaments.
Yes.
Not often that you see that.
Well, Korea doesn't exactly have a huge section of top class players. So yeah.
And the second, now I mentioned that I had two interesting tidbits.
Yes.
The second one is that Kwon Ho-jin is in a youth final
Yep.
and a seniors final in the same week.
Wow, it's Kwon Ho-jin.
Now, I'll explain.
Yeah.
So the there's a youth final, Star of the Future final.
Yes.
So I don't think this is the Rookie King.
Okay.
I think it's slightly different to the Rookie King, but it's still a youth tournament.
Yeah.
And it's between Kwon Ho-jin and Kim Byung-seo. Now, Kwon Ho-jin is actually I think he's in the Korean League.
Yep.
Is he?
Kwon Ho-jin.
Yes, he is.
Okay.
Yes, he is. He's in Jangwan Chong Chinok, or sorry, Jongwan Jang Chinok. Yes.
Yes.
He was also the player that lost to Samire in the Samsung Cup.
Correct. Yes.
And he's playing Kim Byung-seo, who he's won 2 tournaments in the past. He's won the what's the name of it? The Ha Chang-seok gifted tournament.
Yep.
And he won some other one called the Libong Cup, according to this website here.
Right.
But yeah, he's done well in youth competitions. And yeah, they're playing in this Star of the Future tournament. I'm really not too familiar with this tournament, to be honest. But yeah, these are definitely 2 of the strongest rookies.
Yes.
So good luck to them.
Yep.
Now, the Daeju Cup. Now, there's another Kwon Ho-jin. So the answer to this mystery is that there are 2 Kwon Ho-jins.
Yes.
That are professionals in Korea. One of them is a rookie, and the other one is a senior.
Yes.
And interestingly enough, the other one is a woman.
Yes.
She's actually quite famous. She's the daughter of Kwon Kap-yong,
Yes.
the late Kwon Kap-yong, who is one of the greatest Korean Go teachers.
Yes. For pros. Yes.
Yeah, for pros. Yeah, for pros. And she's a 7-dan, and she's also one of the she's one of the pioneers of women's Baduk, women's professional Baduk, and she's in the Daeju Cup final. Now, the Daeju Cup final is a seniors tournament. It is men over 50 and women over 30 compete in this.
Yeah.
And interestingly enough, 2 women were actually competed in the final last year, Lee Min-jin and Kim Hyo-min.
Yep.
And in fact, both of those players reached the semi-finals this year.
Wow.
But they both lost in the semi-finals. So Lee Min-jin lost to Kwon Ho-jin, and Kim Hyo-min lost to Yoo Chang-hyuk. So the final will be between Kwon Ho-jin and Yoo Chang-hyuk.
Right.
And it's interesting because Kwon Ho-jin, like I said, is the daughter of one of the greatest Korean Baduk teachers for professionals. Yoo Chang-hyuk is no slouch when it comes to mentoring as well.
Right.
In fact, I believe he runs a Go school.
Yes.
Or somewhat of a Go school, yes. So, 2 people very, very close to the Go learning.
Right.
In Korea. Like, for instance, I believe Choi Jong, like Yoo Chang-hyuk is actually the teacher of Choi Jong.
Right, yeah.
For instance. Yes. But of course, Yoo Chang-hyuk, he's not just a Go teacher. He's also one of the best Korean players of all time. Winning he's won the Fujitsu Cup, the LG Cup, the Samsung Cup, and the In Cup.
Yep.
Has he even won the Chunlen Cup?
Possibly. I think he's won 6 international titles. So.
He's won 6 international titles. Yes, he's won 6. So that's, for instance, that's more than Park Jun-hwan. That's more than Shin Jin-so.
Yep.
So yeah, just an incredible player.
Yeah.
So you'd have to say that he's going to be the favorite.
Yeah.
For this one, he has won the Chunlen Cup. He won the Fujitsu Cup twice. He won the LG Cup, Samsung Cup, Chunlen Cup, and In Cup.
Right.
Just incredible.
Incredible.
Yeah. And I believe he actually made the Daeju Cup final 2 years ago, but he lost to Seo Bong-soo.
Yeah.
And interestingly enough, he doesn't compete in every tournament anymore. For instance, I don't think he's competed in like the Yongseong or like many of the open majors. He doesn't seem to compete in. But in the tournaments that he has entered this year, he's gone undefeated.
Oh wow! Yeah.
Yeah. I think I'll just quickly check what his record is this year. Oh no, sorry, he hasn't gone undefeated. He's lost a game. He's 10 wins and 1 loss. He must have just recently lost a game.
Yep.
But yeah, 10 wins and 1 loss this year. So yeah, he's still in the he's still actually in the top 100 in the Korean rankings.
All right.
Yeah, no, sorry. I mentioned that he doesn't compete in the open domestics. He actually did compete in the Yongseong.
Right.
He was in the round of 16. He lost to Shin Min-jun. in the round of 16 for the Yongxiong. That's his only loss this year.
Okay, right.
But pretty crazy that he actually managed to reach the round of 16 of a Korean domestic tournament.
Right.
For someone of his seniority and age,
Yeah.
He can still play, and the final I think is this Friday.
Very nice.
Is that
yes. It says here final Friday.
On Friday.
Yeah.
Yep.
Kwanho-jin.
Yeah, but other than that, it's going to be a fairly quiet week. There's no international competitions and there's no like Japanese title matches.
Yep.
But the Taiwanese team will be playing next week in the Korean League. They're playing Team Kicks.
Yep.
On Wednesday.
Yes.
So,
and I think they have another outing on Sunday as well.
They do have an outing on Sunday. That's the big one. That's the Taiwan versus Japan matchup.
Yeah, can't wait. Yeah.
Yes. But that's basically it from the Korean side.
Yeah.
In the calendar.
And there's not much else. I think there's quite a few things happening in the Chinese women's calendar, the Asian Games women's prep, and the Women's World Show International Invitational. Hopefully that will be on the 28th of April. So sometimes these tournaments just get postponed for no particular reason. Hopefully that's not one of them. Looking forward to the World Show. So all the top women players in China will play
that World Show. Yeah, yes. Great.
So apart from that, I guess the other news I have heard is that the E League and Bing League are on the calendar being scheduled. Just don't know when they were.
Lovely.
But
is the In Cup scheduled?
Sorry,
the In Cup final, is that scheduled?
I think there's some rumors that it's going to be held in August or September, so soon.
Wait, was that rumors?
Yes.
Did you say it was rumors?
Yeah.
So not confirmed?
Not that I remember.
No, not interested then. Not interested.
Yeah, not interested. But congrats to Seongjin So for winning his 5th international title there. Thank you.
Oh my God, we went so long.
Yeah.
We almost went through a whole podcast without talking about Shinjin So, but you had to ruin it.
Yes. I wasn't gonna let it go. Yes. And I was gonna say I'm gonna have a sip of water. Oh, water. Okay, yeah. Seongjin So wins. Water's wet. All right. That's it for another episode. Thank you, Gaza. I'm actually desperately trying to look for news of what's gonna happen in the calendar, but I guess nothing. I can't find anything here. So that's it. I guess. Thank you, Gaza, for that episode. I guess it's time to say bye to the.
Yes,
viewers.
Thanks everyone. Thanks everyone in the chat, and thanks everyone who watched the YouTube live and on delay. I'll try and put the timestamps in before you watch it.
Yeah, all right.
Because I know that people like having the timestamps so that they can go to the parts that they're interested in.
Yeah.
Sometimes it takes me a couple of days because I'm just busy with other stuff.
Yeah.
We record these basically at 10 p.m. our local time, and sometimes we finish around 11:30 to midnight.
Yeah.
So I usually just go to sleep after that, and then I try and do the podcast the timestamp the next day. But sometimes I'm not able to get around to it, and it takes me a while. So my apologies for that, but we do our best.
No worries, guys. I'll try to replace you with an AI.
That I don't mind. I don't mind.
Yeah. All right. Thanks.
But thanks again, everyone. Thanks again. Big thanks and goodbye.